Now, before we get into this video, if you have not seen my official breakdown of The Polygamist on Netflix, I need you to go back on my channel and watch that video first, okay? I will wait. Okay, good. Netflix dropped The Polygamist, and I need everybody to understand what we are actually watching here, because people are watching this show and going, oh, this is messy, baby, and Jonas is a terrible person, and that is true. But that is also just the surface. What we are watching is a masterclass in how patriarchy operates when it has enough money behind it. And I need to talk about it. I got to talk about it, okay? So today we are doing a full character breakdown of every woman in this show. And we are going to talk about why every single one of them reminds me of somebody's grandmama, somebody's auntie, hell, somebody's mama, okay? Because this story is not new. It's just new packaging. So let's get into it. What's up, everybody? It's your girl Indescribable, aka Geraldine Lake, and I am back because The Polygamist was so crazy that I just had to do a part 2. Before we even get into the women individually, I need you to understand something about Jonas Gomorrah. He is not just a cheating husband, okay? He is an entire system. Jonas had enough money to buy silence, loyalty, compliance, to keep multiple women in designer clothes, fund a multi-million-dollar corporation, pay off whoever needed to be paid off, and run his entire operation without a hitch. And because he was the provider, everyone was beholden to him. That's not just a character flaw, baby. That is architecture, okay? He built that web of foolishness brick by brick. Now, travel back in time with me for a second, because not too long ago, women in this country could not open a bank account without their husband's signature, could not own property in their own name, could not get a line of credit independently. Now, if you left your marriage, you left with nothing. There were no shelters. There were no legal protections written with women in mind. The alternative to staying had no infrastructure. That is the world that our grandmothers lived in, and what The Polygamist shows us is that the spirit of that world did not die just because the laws changed. When a man controls every dollar, every key, every decision, and every secret, baby, that is still a cage. It just has nicer curtains. Now, let's get into these women because I took notes. First up is Essie, played by the incredible Celeste Tully, who, by the way, is primarily known as a comedian and had to reach way down deep in that bag to bring this character to life, and she delivered. Essie is Jonas's actual first wife, the one he hid for 20 years. He had his own brother, Magesh, pose as Essie's husband and as the father of their daughter, Sarah, in front of everybody for 2 decades. And both Magesh and Essie just went along with it. Now, before we start judging Essie, because I already did that, okay? Let me tell you something. Essie was with Jonas when he was a nobody. She loved him before the money, the empire, before any of this. And what did that loyalty buy her? Invisibility. She was always treated like his last resort, always waiting for him to come back around. Her lifestyle never grew with his wealth because she wasn't in it for the money. Which is crazy, because if you're going to be dragging me to hell and back because I'm just so enamored by whatever spell you've put on me that I'm willing to allow you to abandon our child and dismiss our family altogether for 20 years, you better believe you're going to be paying all my bills, okay? And the kicker, at his funeral, nobody even offered Essie a seat. A whole wife, a mother, and she had to drag her own chair across the room and make space for herself and her daughter, like she was somebody's distant neighbor who showed up uninvited. That image right there, that is everything patriarchy looks like when it finally takes off the mask. Because imagine being listed as a footnote called a special friend in his obituary because you weren't in it for the money. Girl, if you don't go to hell, okay? Essie is every woman who was told that being a good woman was enough, that love and loyalty and sacrifice would protect her, and then she watched it protect absolutely nothing. Now, Matipa, Matipa. Sis came in there so confident, educated, accomplished, and absolutely convinced that she was different from everybody else. And listen, I understand it because the actress who played her said that Matipa never saw herself as the other woman. She saw herself as a woman who knew what she deserved and went to go get it. And she did, okay, briefly. When she was the mistress, she had way more power than she ever had as his wife. More attention, more gifts, more lavish trips. She had Jonas by every part of him that could be grabbed, and then she made the mistake that women have been making forever. She thought becoming his wife would elevate her position. Becoming available to him full-time made her ordinary. The moment she went from conquest to known quantity, from exciting to familiar, Jonas checked completely out and then had the audacity to have her accounts frozen so she was begging for groceries in the street like she hadn't just been living her best life 6 months ago. Ooh, child, the ghetto. What makes Matipa's story specifically painful is that she came in thinking her credentials would protect her. Her ambition and her intelligence, she thought that she was too smart to end up like the woman she was replacing. And that is the lie that patriarchy sells to every generation of women. It tells you that if you are smart enough, accomplished enough, beautiful enough, you will be the exception. You will be the one he treats right. Honey, there is no exception. The system does not make exceptions. It just finds new women to run through it. And when Matipa finally could not see a way out, she just left her children behind. Not because she was a bad mother, but because she hit a wall so many times that she just ran. And we need to talk about that instead of just calling her selfish, because women do not abandon their children for fun. They do it when they feel like they have no other options. Now, Joyce, my girl Joyce, okay, this brilliant actress, let me tell you, she carried this entire show on her back and never dropped it once, okay? Joyce is the social media darling, the perfect wife, the influencer with the flawless brand and the beautiful family and the anniversary parties and the whole thing. And every bit of it was a performance she maintained because her entire financial identity was tied to a man and a company that she helped to build. Here's what gets me about Joyce. She is not naive. She is not stupid. She knew exactly what was happening, and she made very calculated decisions every step of the way. When she found out about Matipa, she suggested that Jonas take her as a second wife. She opened the door to formal polygamy herself, just to control the narrative, just to keep the image intact. Because she understood something our grandmothers understood too, okay? When you can't leave, you manage. You perform, you smile at the party, and you cry in the car. And you get up the next morning and you do it again. Because the alternative is losing everything you helped to build with no guarantee of getting it back. Joyce is every woman who stayed, not because she was weak, but because leaving provided no security for her. And when she finally decided enough was enough, she didn't cry, she didn't beg, she started moving chess pieces, and she won. At a cost, but she won. Okay, let's talk about Lindani. And I need y'all to hear me out before you come to the comments with your whole entire life story, okay? Yes, Lindani got involved with her best friend's father. Yes, that is a violation, okay? Yes, the physical fight that followed was earned. I am not excusing any of that, but I also need us to have an honest conversation about why young women do what Lindani did. Because the actress herself said it plainly. Lindani had a line in the script where she tells her boyfriend, I don't want to end up here. I want a different life, and that's it. That's the whole character right there. She simply did not want to be broke. And girl, I feel you. When you have no generational wealth, no inheritance, no seat at any table, and an older wealthy man opens a door that everything else in your life has kept closed, that's an economic reality that patriarchy created and then turns around and shames women for trying to navigate. Men have been trading money for access to young women since the beginning of recorded history, and we have always blamed the women. Now, was Lindani wrong for how she went about it? Absolutely. But Jonas was a grown-ass man who pursued his own daughter's best friend, and nobody is putting him on trial at the reunion. And even after everything, when she was hurting and bleeding and going through a miscarriage, he was somewhere else occupied with somebody else. She was disposable the moment she stopped being brand new. Because you know men love a shiny toy. Now, I need to talk about Pume, because Pume might be the most important character in this whole show, and she's not even one of his wives. She's Jonas's daughter. Pume is the one carrying the moral weight of everything her father broke. She did not ask to be in this mess. She just wanted a daddy. And instead, she got a man who was too busy running his empires to actually see her. The actress who played her delivered what reviewers are calling the quietest and most powerful performance in the entire series, a daughter navigating loyalty to a father who keeps failing to earn it. And that hits differently because it's not just Pume's story. It's the story of every little girl who grew up in a household where daddy's money came with daddy's rules and daddy's absences and daddy's secrets, and nobody was allowed to say a word about any of it. And in her final scene with her dying father, she walks in, tells him she forgives him, and then she walks back out. 30 seconds, no tears, no begging, no asking him to finally be who she needed him to be all these years, just forgiveness on her own terms and the door closing behind her. I gave her a standing ovation because that is what healing looks like when you finally stop waiting on the person who hurt you to make it right. And then there's Sarah, Essie and Jonas's daughter, the secret that was kept for 20 years, the child who was raised to call her father's brother her daddy, who carried a lie so heavy it eventually broke her to pieces. Sarah did not choose any of this. She was born into a cover story for her father's convenience. Her entire identity from birth was constructed to protect Jonas's image. She didn't even get to be acknowledged as his daughter until the secret became too big to contain. The bastard child dynamic is as old as patriarchy itself. Men have always had the power to acknowledge or deny their children, to give or withhold the family name, to grant or revoke belonging. And children have always been the ones left holding the weight of those decisions. Sarah had no power in that equation. She was collateral damage in a deal made between men before she was old enough to even understand anything. And the only grace she received in the whole show came from Pume, who invited Sarah to stand with the family at their funeral. One daughter reaching out to another. Two women cleaning up after a man who made both of their lives harder than they needed to be. Every woman in The Polygamist was operating inside a system where Jonas held all the keys. Financial keys, legal keys, social keys, the keys to who got acknowledged and who got erased. And that is not just a South African story, y'all. That is not just a fictional story. That is the story of women for generations who stayed, who endured, who managed, who performed, because the alternative had no floor underneath it. Our grandmothers were not weak for staying. They were trapped by design. And the fact that some of those traps are more visible now does not mean that they disappeared. It just means that we finally have the language to name them. Jonas is dead at the end of this show, but the system that made him possible, that one is still very much alive. And the first line of defense in fighting a system is to name it. So today, we named it. If this video hit different for you, share it with somebody who needs to hear it, okay? Drop in the comments which character you felt most in your spirits. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe because we talk about this kind of thing around here all the time, honey. Now, hit that notification bell so you know every single time your girl uploads, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Peace.